Hello, thank you for joining us for another edition of Insights Tech Talk. My name is Joseph Flynn. I'm Director of Digital Workplace within Insights Connected Workforce. I'm joined today by Christian Brinkenhoff, and I'll let Christian actually tell us who he is.
Yeah, thank Joe. I'm Christian Brinkoff. I'm part of the Windows 365 engineering team. I'm very glad to be here, and I'm responsible for everything related to Windows 11, as well as community. So yeah, great to be here and talk about the product with you.
No, glad you joined us, and I'm excited to have a couple questions I have prepared for you and how you answer them. So as everyone's aware, we're here joined today by Christian to talk about Windows 365. So Windows 365 is Microsoft's new, shall we say, cloud PC. It's a version of Azure Virtual Desktop that's very hands-off for customers, and it comes in two flavors, a business flavor and enterprise flavor. The business flavor is very license-based, hands-off, meant for small customers. I'm pretty sure, keep it straight, Christian, it's under 300 users. And it's you license a user, you get a Windows 10 or Windows coming soon, a Windows 11 cloud PC that is managed in the cloud, joined to the cloud, no on-prem connectivity. It's meant to be very simple, very consumer-like. And then you have the enterprise edition of Windows 365, which is more customizable. It requires on-prem connectivity. You can upload your own custom images. It has much more flexibility and troubleshooting for an enterprise that enterprise would need. So for those companies coming from a more mature VDI environment, it's probably what they're going to be used to if they go to the Windows 365 enterprise world. Now, let's jump right into it though, Christian. Can you explain to the audience, with Microsoft releasing Windows 365, knowing like they already have Azure Virtual Desktop, and we know in the 2020 timeframe, Azure Virtual Desktops has skyrocketed in consumption. What was the thought process behind Windows 365 and why bring something like this out now?
Yeah, it's a good question, Joe, and thank you for asking, of course, because we get that question a lot. And something to really keep in mind is that Windows 365 is here for every customer. VDI has been around for like 30 years, 20, 30 years, and has been always like for a specific segment in market. Let's say 10%, 15% of market. With Windows 365, we take an extra step on top of VDI and make it more simple and addressable for every customer on this planet, and partners, of course, too. Meaning that if you look at like AVD, you can remote into AVD as well, and it's like similar as VDI on-prem. However, all the bits and pieces that you chain together and the end-to-end configuration is something you need to do yourself. With Windows 365, we take that extra step where we created on top of the Azure Virtual Desktop control plane services, all kinds of automation to make the process to enable customers to use a remoting technology to hybrid remote working solutions that are very popular these days with COVID and the new way of working to like a new level. So what you need to remember is that Windows 365 is a software as a service solution, and Azure Virtual Desktop is a platform as a service solution, meaning that the platform is just a substantial of the complete environment. And Windows 365 provides that end-to-end configuration as well as a solution to do the remoting itself, of course, with an own custom portal, but as well the monitoring, and everything is completely integrated with Microsoft 365 applications, like other cloud software as a service solutions that we provide as part of the Microsoft 365 E3 licensing model. So it's really that extra step moving into a software as a service solution that is different from Azure Virtual Desktop. And that makes it as well more approachable for every customer that I just called out. Like the complexity layer in enabling this is completely gone. And you called out a couple of things, like for business, you don't need to bring in an on-prem environment and it's all cloud native. And that's exactly what we are currently building for the enterprise product too. So Azure AD Native is coming, meaning that you can just configure all the bits and pieces for enterprise as well without bringing in an on-premise domain controller or a connection, for example. So really to address that need for hybrid remote working for every customer these days, instead of having that complexity, cost that is like on top of a physical environment that always was a struggle in the past from leveraging and adopting VDI. We made it fixed price and very cost effective as well to use a remoting technology. So that's the best way to remember it and to differentiate it from Azure Virtual Desktop as well. So it depends where you are as an organization today and where you want to be as part of the digital transformation and leveraging remoting technology. And Windows 365 addresses that simplicity layer to deliver the best Windows experience on any device.
And I think simplicity is a key word here. Now, from an Insight perspective, we're one of the few partners that worked with Microsoft in the early stages. So we probably worked with your teams for almost over a year now with the private preview of Windows 365 or Cloud PC. And at the time, we were bought in on it. We liked the simplicity, we liked the ease of deployment, and we saw the possibility of this changing the whole device lifecycle market, right? Because now it's possible where BYOD may come into play, or better yet, a choose your own device. And just in my conversations with customers now, like today, recently, many customers are looking at Windows 365 to go to a cheaper endpoint. And this way they don't have to buy the high-end device. They can give the resources in the cloud. Or more importantly, I have a customer also looking to do half their home users, just letting them use their home PCs and giving them a Windows 365 PC in the cloud. Where do you see Windows 365 shaping the industry in regards to possibly how it pertains to end user devices?
Yeah, I normally answer this question in a reflection to what happened in the past. So if you look 10 years back to Exchange Online and the change to Office 365 services, Exchange Online, OneDrive, like 10 years back, that transformation took a couple of years when the real mass adoption happened. But it's exactly like that, like the simplicity that you just called out, the easiness to enable Windows on any device. That's something customers will want and will use in the near-term future. It really depends where customers are in an on-prem configuration, whether they have some on-prem applications that cannot work with Azure AD yet, or other kind of applications that cannot reflect an operating system that we support within Windows 365, because we support Windows 10 and Windows 11. But other than that, we expect that the change really starts to take off like right now already. We see customers landing on the platform, and I cannot call customer names here specifically, but we have a customer that just onboarded 2,000 cloud PCs in just a matter of 1 or 2 days. And that's the kind of examples of how simple and how easy the on-ramping phase is to create an enterprise environment in just a snap, with just assigning a license in the admin.microsoft.com portal, just like you do with Office 365 and Microsoft 365. And then after that, you can just use it. So that complete layer of complexity that you're perhaps familiar with on-prem solutions, VDI, different management solutions, then you have this solution, that solution, and all together, it's like one solution. You have 3 different teams in your organization maintaining that environment. That's not how we look. That's not the vision of Windows 365. The vision of Windows 365 is that you have one single pane of glass for all your devices, for your cloud PCs, as well as your physical PCs, as well as your mobile devices. And since shortly during Ignite, we announced Linux management that is coming soon as well. So that single pane of glass via Microsoft Endpoint Manager, that's where customers want to be in that simplicity and digital transformation road moving forward. And Windows 365 is exactly here to address that need in the market, to simplify that layer of management as well as maintenance in their environment.
Yeah, I like the fact, and you nailed it when you talk about the Linux pieces coming out next year. The term UEM has been around for a while. And in previous years, I always said to customers, UEM, it's great. It's where we want to go. It's just there's no tools today that really is true UEM. Now you see the likes of the Linux and the other OSs come into these management platforms. So the term UEM is really reality, right? Unified Endpoint Management. You really are getting to the point where it's a single portal for everything, including the Windows 365.
Yeah,
Now,
exactly. And just before you jump in the next question, just a quick insight on how Windows 365 eventually came together. And that's how things in Microsoft happen pretty often, is that there's a product which is very successful, and there's another product which is successful as well, and they merge together and bring the same experience for the end user and customer to the field. And that's what happened with Microsoft Endpoint Manager, Intune, and Azure Virtual Desktop coming together and building that complete automation engine on top of that, which is the Windows 365 service, chaining them both together and then have like this big impactful solution where you can deliver an end-to-end solution from creation of the cloud PC, as well as the monitoring aspect, application delivery, security baselines, policies, everything that you normally did on-prem with Active Directory and some other solutions on the side. That all consolidate. That's the power of how those solutions marry together. And we are part of the Intune team, the management team, the organization in Microsoft as well. So we have close connections with those other engineers building and shaping this solution into the future. So.
I like it. I think simplicity is the key here with everything you're saying, right? You're trying to drive simplicity in organization. Last question, and I'll jump right into it, is the most common question I get from customers is, how do I determine which path to go? Do I go Azure Virtual Desktop or do I go Windows 365? So I'm just curious how you explain it to customers. I mean, I've talked to many, explained to many around personas and how often they're going to use it, but I'm real curious, how do you communicate to customers? What's that deciding factor that pushes them one way versus another?
Yeah, it's a very accurate question, and we get it a lot as well as internally in Microsoft as well as externally, of course. And the best way to look at Windows 365 to differentiate from Azure Virtual Desktop as well as other technologies in the market is that Windows 365 is a personalized Windows experience cloud PC, meaning that you're the owner of the cloud PC and everything works exactly the same as a physical PC running Windows 10 and Windows 11. So within Azure Virtual Desktop, you mainly work with a non-persistent, talking about VDI terms right now, environment, which is multi-user based, and all the implications and the complexity around that is something that a lot of customers don't want. If you are an existing VDI customer and you want to move to a VDI environment in the cloud, which is a little bit more simplified because you leverage a platform as a service solution, but the rest, all the complexity layers on the virtual machine itself and the degradation in user experience because you work with a non-persistent profile, your profile is being cached somewhere, you're not the owner of the VM itself. Yeah, that's completely improved with Windows 365. So we think in the future of, hey, you have a virtual machine, a cloud PC that is exactly the same as your physical PC. However, now running in the cloud, your state is persistent. So if you log on from like your iPad or your Android phone or your laptop, you log on to that same Windows machine. You're the owner of that. You can be a local admin if the IT admin allows that. And with AVD, that's not the case. The vast majority of AVD customers are using non-persistent, and as well that layer around it and the need for the knowledge to maintain that environment and configure that and make sure it performs well. That's something we take care of because the cloud PCs, the VMs itself, run in a Microsoft managed environment, meaning nothing as part of the VMs are running inside the customer subscription. And that's a SaaS offering solution that I just explained as well in the beginning of this talk. And that's where customers asked us to move to in terms of the digital transformation moving forward. Customers don't want to go in more complex scenarios. They want to get it more simple as well for predictable cost. And that's exactly where Windows 365 kicks in. So if you want to have more like flexibility, so you want to click on everything, you have a file server, Azure Files, you want to have a profile management solution, you want to use multi-session or remote apps, more like VDI kind of scenarios, then Azure Virtual Desktop is probably the best pick for you right now. But in the digital transformation moving forward and simplifying the VDI environment in a more persistent, personalized, and good best Windows experience, then Windows 365 should definitely be on your radar in terms of moving forward. So it sometimes depends as well which layers in the organization you talk with. If you talk with more like C-level, the digital transformation and the simplicity of moving to a direction where everything is simple and consolidated with other technologies, other portal experiences and management layers and consolidation of different management teams is more important than, for example, talking with an IT admin in an organization sometimes. So that's kind of the shift you see in moving from on-prem to the cloud, as well as in the cloud to a more simple solution in the cloud itself. So you can move from like a public cloud service, a PaaS service, to a SaaS service, and also move in a more simpler environment. And right now, with COVID, remote working, seeing this shift of the digital transformation of, let's say, 4 years and 2 months, what Satya was sharing earlier as well during one of his keynotes that I think Microsoft inspired. That's exactly where Windows 365 now kicks in, where customers come from COVID, they made decisions and moving to a platform because they didn't have any other option at that time to enable remote working. With Windows 365, we are here to reconsider your decisions you made over the last 2 to 3 years and see if you can do it more simple for a predictable price with a SaaS offering that we deliver with this product.
And I love the message. To me, I tell customers all the time, let technology make your life simpler, right? It's there to be more efficient. Great. So with that, Christian, I want to thank you for joining us today. I love hearing the thoughts from the employees and the resources that we tend to partner with from a Microsoft perspective, considering you make the product. And to everybody viewing, I want to just thank you for joining, and hopefully this session around Windows 365 was beneficial to you. If you want more information, if you want to set up a meeting, reach out to your Insight rep, or you can go to insight.com to capture more information, or possibly set up an appointment, and we can gladly walk through in more detail how Windows 365 can provide more value to your business. Thank you and have a great day.
Thank you.